Well, welcome everybody. We're going to start on time just because we got four great speakers, and to put four speakers in one session, we'll certainly keep the pace going fast. And I'll apologize in advance for how fast I do my quick presentation. My name is Craig Resnick with ARC. This is actually part two of our IT/OT convergence session that began yesterday. So if any of you were in that session, there's going to be a little bit of deja vu with my presentation. There's not much original content between that presentation and this, other than the words part two. So, but with that, I'll get started as soon as I'm clicked in. Perfect. So we'll talk a lot about the how in our plants, everybody is going through this IT/OT convergence process. But the challenge that plants have, of course, is that it'd be great if if these plants were full of new state-of-the-art equipment, but how do we link in and take advantage of some of that 20, 30 plus year old equipment that's already on the factory floor? And talk a little bit about some of the subtle differences between IT and OT, in the technical organizations, and what are some of the specific needs of each group. But more importantly, what are some of the benefits of those IT/OT converged systems? And then get a wrap up and get on with the speakers. But there's probably no company that hasn't been either talking about or going through their IT/OT convergence journey, certainly over the last 5 years. But again, the big challenge is nobody's going to do a rip and replace and get rid of all that legacy equipment on the factory floor simultaneously. One of the things is that in many times, even in some of that older equipment, there's very, very, very valuable data, and how do we integrate that data to take full advantage of it as we help make better business decisions? And so we don't really want to have all these islands of data. How do we make sure that that data is all integrated, and then make sure that we're taking advantage of everything that OT can bring to the table, but also everything that IT can bring to the table as well. Many of the differences between IT and OT, sometimes we think of it from a life cycle perspective of products. The 4-year-old dog is equivalent to a 28-year-old person, and sometimes we look at that for IT product life cycles versus OT product life cycles, that a 4-year-old product in IT is equivalent to about a 28-year-old product on the OT side. So it's really, how do we try to reconcile that? Because even though I think with technologies, the life cycle of OT products is probably going to continue to shrink, but it's certainly not going to get to the consumer level of product life cycle like you typically have in IT. But what IT brings, a lot of the expertise in cybersecurity and how important cybersecurity is at all levels of the plant, that's been very, very helpful. And certainly with artificial intelligence, machine learning, analytics, virtualization, IT has brought a lot of that very valuable bring that information to the table. But one of the things that OT really brings is just understanding the issues of real time, and the fact that plant can never go down. We cannot figure that we're going to be doing patches or upgrades right in the middle of a production run. So, OT really tries to be the truth squad sometimes for some of the activities that IT is trying to bring. The other thing that's really changed with IT/OT convergence is some of the skill sets that are really needed within the plant. 5 years ago, when we look at the subject matter of a data analyst or a data scientist, you would not have thought of that as something that as a very in-demand profession for people that are working in the factories. But today, that's one of the most common job descriptions that we're seeing. Also, some of the hardest jobs to be able to fill and find qualified people to fill those roles. But that seems to be where the demand is as far as looking to add new talent, in manufacturing. Even though there's certainly much that's different between traditional IT functions and traditional OT functions, but there's a lot of common denominators. And I think as the two groups are working together, they're really recognizing what are those common denominators, even beyond things like cybersecurity. But how important standards are to both sides of the IT and OT equation, for example, and the making sure that ultimately that every business is being measured with its own KPIs, projects on return on investment or return on assets. And so again, there are some a lot of similarities between the demands of what are the two groups. Also, you're looking in terms of sometimes just what's different in the organizations as you're putting things together, and going from more of a cleaner environment and having to deal with products that have to live in an industrial environment with more dirt and vibration and noise and heat, and how do we all put all that together. And the fact is that as IT/OT convergence comes to fruition, there's also sometimes more complexity that even on the OT side of the world in some of the products and solutions than there was in the past as these products become more sophisticated. So it's just a matter of also, as this comes together, how do you actually manage some of these more sophisticated OT products that you're finding on the factory floor? But what are some of the results of IT/OT convergence? I mean, you're certainly lowering things like process variability. We think it's something that we're seeing an increase in product quality, increase in things such as KPIs, such as OEE, just actually being able to do a better job of managing asset health and reducing unscheduled downtime because you're able to predict what's going to happen to a rotating asset, for example, before it happens rather than waiting for an unscheduled downtime and putting yourself in a very precarious situation. It's certainly done a better job of eliminating some potential situations where there's been safety incidents by, again, being able to do a better job managing a situation before it actually happens, and obviously being able to mine all those terabytes and terabytes of data that's been accumulating in historians for many years and being able to properly analyze it and be able to create the artificial intelligence and machine learning that it takes to make better decisions going forward. So again, you're in a world where you have advanced analytics, machine learning, artificial intelligence still tied to, but what do you do with all those old manual chart recorders that I certainly seem to stumble into a few of them as we go visit our clients in the field. But it's really how are you living in this world knowing that all those chart recorders are probably not going to be simultaneously ripped out, and they still have to play some sort of a role with all the latest technologies today. So that's one of the things that's driving IT/OT convergence. But again, it's maximizing the value of all your assets, maximizing the value of your workforce, being able to get a level of insight by combining all the data and information from both the OT and IT side to make better business decisions and be more responsive. And certainly you can't have a digital transformation journey if you're not going through an IT/OT convergence process. So with that, sorry for being so fast, but I want to let Sharul come up here and kick us off. Thank you very much.